Hi, I'm Bonnie, Log Cabin Stitcher. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my sewing room. You can follow me on Instagram at Bonnie, Log Cabin Stitcher. This is going to be the second of my quilting videos, and I am going to show you today the quilts that were in my Christmas home tour that I put up earlier this week. It was an amateur video where I just walked around my front room and dining room and showed the decorations that I have. I love the Christmas decorations. I've way simplified what I've done because I do not enjoy the decorating, but I love when it's all up and ready to go. So if you would like to go check that out, I think it was just a half-hour video or less, just looking at my room. But this quilt that I want to show you, I just call it a Christmas rag quilt. This was the one that was my favorite, and I've already had questions on it, just, people wanting to see it. So this will not be a tutorial on how to make a rag quilt. If you go on Pinterest, you will see a lot of free rag quilt patterns, and I'm sure there will be tutorials on how to do it. My mom showed me how to do it. My sister showed her how to do it. And so I didn't have a real pattern. I had kind of a passed along type of a pattern, and I don't know what pattern it came from, but we have changed it along the way. So check out what you can, but this will be just showing you my my rag quilt. When I first got back into quilting, I made a lot of rag quilts and I gave them as gifts, and it was a really good way because the precision does not matter so much on your cutting and your stitching. It is a very unusual, fun quilt, so it was a great one for me to practice on before I got into more of the pieced quilts. So here we go. I'm going to hold it up because I usually will showcase the favorite quilt that I want to show you behind me, and that way I can just point to it. But this one, I really wanted you to see the close-ups of it so I can tell you a little bit about how I did what I did. So I'm going to hold it up for a moment as if it's the hanger, and I'm not going to talk back there because you're not going to hear me. So I'm just going to hold it up. That way you're going to get a look at it, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So here we go. Here I am, the hanger now. So what'd you think? Do you like it? It is so cozy and warm. And it's funny because the first Christmas that I made this, I decided, it was like the beginning of December, and I thought, I want a Christmas quilt. And there's no way, because of the way that I do my quilts and I hand quilt, there was no way I was going to have one done because I was working, and then I was driving my son down to a hybrid homeschool several days a week. And so there was just no way I could do something unless I did a rag quilt. I took these blocks with me when I was down at his school with him. I stitched at the park, and then I came home and went to work. So I got these done, sewn together, and I had a Christmas quilt for Christmas. But that Christmas, my son, Chad, the one that I was driving down there, got really sick, and he had a fever, and so this is 3 layers of flannel, and he snuggled up with this the whole entire Christmas weekend. So it's very warm and cozy. So this, if you could see it, hopefully you were able to see it when I had it back there. But those of you that have made rag quilts, this is very familiar to you. So if I'm going to tell you the size of block, this is like an 8-inch finished block. But no, I'm sorry, I'm so used to, usually we do the 1/4-inch seam. These are 1/2-inch seams that you do. And so it is a very backwards way of sewing. So when you sew the pieces together, you're actually sewing the right sides together. I'm not even going to try to explain it because it's late and I need to get this video up. And if I do a tutorial, I will really have to focus. So I'm just going to show you my quilt. That's going to be the best way to do it. But I did write down the measurements. This block right here, the large blocks I cut them out at 8.5 inches, but because you do a 1/2-inch seam, they end up being finished at 7.5 inches. So when I designed this, I wanted a lot of different ones. My sister had done one that was just the holly berries and snowmen, so she just had 2 different designs. But of course, because I have to make everything complicated, I decided on there were 7 different patterns that I did, and I tried to figure out a rhythm. So you can do it with whatever you want. But this was the snowflake. And this was, I have no idea what pattern this was from. These are just 3 pieces laid on top of each other. It looks like a bone. So we've got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 laid on top of each other. I simply did the running stitch, and I must have gone in, because you can see it frays over time and you kind of clip it a little bit. But I probably sewed in either an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch in, because you need to let it fray. But it is using the Valdani. This is my favorite. Not this particular color, but this type of thread, the Valdani pearl cotton, size 12. This is what I love to use for my hand quilting. So running stitch, very simple, very primitive. This block, 8.5 inch cut, 7.5 inch finish. These 2 that look like bricks, these I measured. And check it. If you go to try to make this, check them before you cut a whole bunch of them, because I just did a quick measurement. They would have been cut 4.5 by 8.5. So when it goes together, it ends up being 7.5 finished. Then what is the other size? Oh, then we have the 4 patch. These were cut at 4.5 inches, right? Yep. It says 4.5 by 8.5. Nope, nope, nope. Hang tight, hang tight. I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, I'm sorry. They were cut at 4.5 inches. So 4.5 inches, and then finishes at 7.5. But if you're going to go and do this, do me a favor and don't cut the whole quilt. Do each block, check it out, and then see if it goes together. So it is just a, this is it. You know, I wish I had a real pattern to be able to show you, but I don't always work on real patterns either. But these were just holly and berry. This, I have there at the time, my son wasn't married, so we just had 4 of us in the family, but each one of us has a stocking. This was from some other book that I have. I have many, many quilt books, and so I just flipped through and found a pattern from each book. I know one of them, the tree that I'm going to show you in a second. Let me show you this book before I forget. The tree is from this book. So this is all I did. So this is Happy Holidays to You by Art to Heart. What I did was I flipped through and I thought, okay, what do we have here? Do we have anything that I could use? The tree, you'll see this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. I simplified it and just made it, I think it's 3. You're going to see it in a moment. But I flipped through. Did I use this? Did I use another one? I don't know. Because it was years ago and I just flipped through all my books and I would just find a piece. People can do that in color books too. So there's one of the stockings. There is one of the gingerbread. That looks like a pillow that I showed you earlier from an American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. Then we have the double star. The candy canes are probably my favorite, and it took a little bit of work, but you can see there is 2 layers. So I did the white piece out of flannel, and then I did the red pieces. And I remember that was kind of a trick because I'm not very good backwards and forwards kind of thing. But that was kind of a trick, but I got it and I love it. And they do, the nature of rag quilts, if you're a neat freak, a rag quilt is not going to be for you because you end up with all these little pieces. You do what's called chenille, and all these little pieces come loose. That's the beauty of this, and that's how you make this work. But this is the quilt. So did I show you all the pieces? So we have the snowflake. Here we go. We have a snowman, and see how it has that loose piece. My sister's had that too. She just did a different snowman. But I love those loose pieces. Those are French knots, and a satin stitch for the nose. Buttons, of course. What else do I need to show you? Showed you the star. Oh, here's the tree that I was telling you about. Way down there. Come on up, tree. Okay. Oh, actually, there we go. So there are 4 layers. I chose not to do the star, but you can see it's very scrappy. We have, if you're in the Inland Empire area, there's a store in Glendora. If it's still open, who knows? Not a lot of businesses are closing down in 2020. But So and So, SEWN, SEW in Glendora. They have a lot of different little rooms for their quilt store, mostly moderns, and batiks and K-facets. So not as many traditional fabrics, but they have a huge selection of flannels. I remember going and buying a lot of flannels there. So that is my Christmas rag quilt. Let me give you another look at it. Let me grab it lower so that way you can get kind of another look. So I will count the rows for you in a moment, but let me show you here. So there you go. So let's get you a total of rows. I did not think to do this before I started filming. I never do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows across. How many rows down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 rows down, 7 rows across. Christmas rag quilt. One of my favorite quilts. I love flannel. Now, that was on the ladder. So I didn't tell you the story of my ladder. So if you watch that Christmas home tour, that ladder was a real working wood ladder for my neighbor. So a while ago, years ago, 25 years ago, in our neighborhood, we've been here forever. A lot of us neighbors were really close. We raised our kids together. And so we spent a lot of time at each other's homes, and it was very fun. I keep feeling like I've got those little things all over me from the quilt, but I don't. Anyway, those neighbors, they had a really tall, neat, beautiful wood ladder that they really used. And I said, hey, Paul, how would you like? I bet you need a new ladder, and I want your wood ladder. And so we would tease and about it. Eventually, they did give it to me, probably because he went to use it and a step may have broken. And it was a tall ladder, so I had it, and I had it outside in my garden. I had a lot of old wood ladders out in my garden. My garden was amazing. I had decorations out there. I loved it. I decorated it kind of like my home, and it was huge. But as the kids grew older, I spent more time inside, and then I switched over to more of a native garden. We have no grass, all decomposed granite pathways and woodland garden. So then I was trying to figure out what to do with all my wood ladders, and then I started quilting. But this wood ladder was really old, and it was kind of grungy, and it was kind of rough. And so what I did was I got some varnish, and it was a thicker varnish because I probably went to the hardware store and I told them what I needed to do. And so it took that old beautiful matte wood and it made it shiny, but it made it where I trusted that I could put some of my special quilts on that ladder and not worry about the dirt and the age and all the yuck transferring onto my quilt. So I did several layers of this thick varnish. Then over the steps of the ladder, or the rungs of the ladder, I have some old scraps of wool that somebody in the garment industry gave my mother, and then she gave to me. So I had big pieces of black wool. I know they're treasured, but I wrapped the rungs in that black wool. So that way, even if it doesn't go, the quilt doesn't go all the way across, you don't even really see it because it looks like shadow. So that's how I did my ladder. Then the very top part was kind of broken, and that's where I put that little elf up there. So that's kind of the story of my ladder, and now we have it inside, and it's actually, we took that back piece off because, usually a ladder would open, but I wanted it all the way against the wall. My husband took the back piece off because really it was just one piece of wood that was holding that ladder up. That's why Paul needed to replace it. It was not very sturdy. And actually we bolted it onto the wall, so it's held on by a bolt at the top, and so that way it doesn't fall. As I'm moving, I just have to hold on to it as I take the quilts on and off, otherwise it kind of swings out and it could pull out of the wall. So the very top quilt is another special one. That one was on the bottom, so this is going to be the top one, and this is my mom's. So I have shared with you how my mom used or made quilts for her tablecloths and actually use them, but she and my dad would use placemats. This is one that is amazing, and I cannot believe she used this as a tablecloth. But you can see, I'm going to do a hold up again, so I'm going to hold it up, but she just took a big square and she cut the corners, and so that way it could lay on a circle without the points coming out. I'm going to show you close-ups because, again, I didn't want to have this in the background because this is hand quilted and it is gorgeous. So here we go. I'm going to hold it up. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is not technically a Christmas quilt. My mom loved purple. So this was one that she had. So this is Scrappy. So I found the pattern, and I had to look and look and look today to find this pattern. It doesn't really represent what the quilt looks like. So this is the actual pattern. I looked it up. I tried to look for it, and it is so weird because this pattern does not have a particular name. It says American Legacy Quilts, and it says Quarters Quilts, and then it says Quiltmaker Mary Jane Best limited edition, but there are a lot of them. This must have been a series, but this one does not have a particular name, which is weird when you want to go try to purchase it. So there is a lot of different ones on Etsy, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the pattern is. But again, kind of frustrating if you were going to try to make this one. My mom and sister collected a lot of fabrics together, and they called these Virginia Elegance. So it says Virginia Elegance on there, but my sister's name is Ginger. Her real name is Virginia. And so somehow together they came up with this, they called it a family. So Virginia Elegance was this whole line of fabric, which was probably the same maker. I don't even know who the designer was, but these are incredible fabrics. And if you are to look at trying to reproduce this, you can see it's kind of that star. I'll give you a close-up. But it's very scrappy and very lovely. So again, it's kind of hard if you were going to try to find a pattern similar to this. I wish you luck, and I hope you are able to find something. But this I would love to really just inspire you by, gosh, just the color choices. So it's amazing. In that pattern, I would have seen that pattern and not thought twice about making that quilt because that quilt does not attract me. But these colors I find just wonderful and very scrappy. And then look at that hand quilting. So my mom did the big stitch with the pearl cotton, but this is hand quilting with just quilting thread, and she was a wonderful hand quilter. And so I just truly love this. My sister had one that she made just like this. That's why I got this one. Even though this was fabrics they had collected together, my sister had one very close to this, so she had one. But this is just a treasure for me, and I am very careful when I use this one because I love it. But just beautiful quilting, beautiful colors, and just lovely color choices. So there you go. That is another quilt. Then I want to save this one to the end because I'm going to show you the next one, because it also was a tablecloth. So this one I'm going to do a hold up. Let's see, there is no right or wrong side, so I'm going to do a hold up and then I'll show you the close-ups. Okay, so this one is fun. My mom did hand quilting, and this was back to the big stitch, but look at scrappy binding, and she did snowmen on the edges, and you can see they're just simply reds and greens, not Christmas, necessarily Christmas reds and greens. But so of course, as the tablecloth, I'm showing you upside down, but as the tablecloth, this is how you would have looked at them. So I just wanted to show you the close-ups. But those are the snowmen, and then you have the stars. So let's do, the stars don't matter, they're not upside down or right side together. So this, she just called it Scrappy Stars. So similar to that last pattern, but instead of the block in the center, it's a 4-patch in the center. So very fun. Again, I do not know the pattern, but you can look and see there really is just 2 blocks that 9 patch and then the star next to it. So if you cannot find a pattern, I am sure you can get creative and make one. But this is so fun. I just love looking at all the little snowmen and the funny little faces that she put in there to make that. So fun. Fun. And even though I don't have a round table, I could lay this on my square table, which is really a rectangle when I open up all the leaves. But I like using these as little lap quilts because if I'm holding this, I'm 5'7", so if I'm holding that, so what is this, 4.5 feet square maybe, but they're perfect. Like when I'm just sitting on the couch, it is a perfect lap size because it goes on my lap and all the way down to my feet. So there we go. Now this next one was also, it is certainly not a Christmas quilt, but it's those colors, and I like the darker colors. That's why I tried to match this to go with that. I like the darker greens and the darker reds, and even the burgundy are the colors that I use rather than the brighter colors. So this one, as I was trying to figure out what do I want to put for Christmas up on my ladder, because I don't get all my quilts down to use them. A lot of times I'll just lay one out, like I had that Christmas one laid out on the couch, and we don't pull the quilts on and off that ladder all the time to use them. Usually the bottom one we do, because I definitely use that Christmas rag one in there. So this one, when I had it folded over, I was really just looking at the border. We've got the red and the green, and this is more of a yellow rather than the cream in the border. So the colors worked for me. And I love the border, but here's something with this quilt. Oh, and here's something funny too. I was sure that I had shared this quilt on another quilting video, and I went back and looked at, I think this is quilting number 9. So I went back and looked in the show notes underneath to see if I could find it. And I thought, I know I've talked about it before, but the funny thing is, because I'm talking to you as if you were a friend in my sewing room, I remember back, no, a friend was in my sewing room, and we were looking at this quilt, and then we were talking about it, and that's why I thought it was you guys that I shared with. See, so I just do it as if I'm friends. This is from the book. This may be still out now. I got it years ago, but it's French Country Farmhouse Collection. Now, and again, see, look at that, is a rag quilt. So there's a lot of rag quilts out there. This is the pattern. And so I got this, and this was when I was new to quilting. So I bought this, I think it said 07. Yep, 07, that's when I started quilting again. So I went to the store and I picked out some fabrics. And then I was having trouble, I had trouble with borders. I had trouble trying to get fabrics matching when I was new to quilting. And so I went to, it was the Fabric Patch before, now it's gone. But the Fabric Patch in Montclair, and at that time Mary was the owner, and I asked her just to help me find some fabric for the border. So she picked out this border. At the time I looked at it and it was like, oh my gosh, big floral, I don't think so. But she laid it out, and then as she laid it out, I thought, oh, that is perfect, I love it. So I bought just as much as whatever the pattern called for. I bought just that much, and then I probably didn't make it for years, and then I went to go to make it, and I realized that the designer made a mistake, and she didn't factor in that it is also in some of the blocks. So whatever she asked for, called for, that's how much I got. So this border should have been wider. This border, I have this in several different colors because I love it so much. I don't even know, I do not think, the green I would not think is still available, but at the time I think it's Three Sisters is the designer. And I have that in a couple different colors. The green is amazing, and it kills me that that is not a wider border, because that is actually the best part of the quilt. I really don't like the quilt that much anymore, and at times I've thought of giving it away, but I like it when I fold it over at Christmas time. So as I was making this, because this was one of the first kind of quilt tops that I was putting together, I realized some things. I realized that this is not very scrappy. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 fabrics in the whole quilt. That's not enough for me. I love that visual eye candy. I love looking at the scrappiness when they all go together of a quilt. So I realized I get quickly visually bored with this quilt. Then when I went to hand quilt, I thought it would be neat to use a thinner thread. And then I realized I didn't like that either. And I was going to make it really complicated. And I just thought, I just want to get the stupid thing done so I can use it. So I usually don't wash quilts right after I quilt them, because I don't use them rough and tumble. And so some quilts that I've made years ago, I've never washed. But this one I washed it right away because I wasn't happy with it, and so I wanted it to kind of cuddle together and look more old. Then the other thing, when I was doing this, we'll see how close I can get, but I did, instead of the regular applique that I do now, it's more of the rough. It's a fusible applique, so it was one that I ironed on, and then I did kind of a whip stitch around the edge. I want to pull it forward, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to get that to see. But I don't know if you can see, as I did that, and then I did a whip stitch with DMC floss around the edge, just to kind of make it look. Do I have anything like that? Yeah, I didn't plan this one very well ahead of time. I'll do a closer picture on Instagram or something so I can show you what it looks like. But it's a lovely quilt in itself, but it doesn't grab me. So that was something that I learned. I love Scrappy. The other thing, this was one when I was doing it that as a new quilter, I really struggled with points. And so this does not have a whole lot of points in there, but I was learning. And so I would get like here, that doesn't match. But on the ones that I was getting, I think, ooh, I nailed it. I got it. So some I would undo, some I would do. But that's when I learned I really liked when the points matched up. Some people don't, it doesn't bother them. They can go faster. But that was something else that I learned. So this was a good learning quilt for me. Learning what I liked, what I didn't like, and also learning if you have a fabric that is amazing, don't buy exactly what they say. Buy more, because you never know what mistake that you will make. All right. So now the other thing that I'm going to share with you is an unfinished project that I have. So let's get down to that unfinished project. I've got my notes that I'm going to move. And so this unfinished project, yesterday on the Quilting 8, I showed you a big unfinished project that I've got, and I turned it into brain surgery, and it sits. I did it again. I just kind of do that. I love Pinterest. I love Pinterest, and I will sit with my coffee and my dog, and I'll just Pinterest away and save all these pins. And in doing that, I kind of shared before in my quilting number 7 video where I show my side of the other side of the room that I'm looking at. I was telling you about the joy of the hunt. So I will look on Pinterest. I will find a pattern. It's not available, so I am going to find that pattern and I'm going to buy it. And or I'll find it and just have found it. So I found it was on Pinterest, but it was from a blog. So I went to the blog, you know, and then sometimes you can search an image. I found it. So this was the pattern. It is I think it's used, but you can probably still find some copies. It is called A Nice Mix, and it is Gary Kimmel. So it's funny because the other one that I found was a Gary Kimmel as well. So, or it's Gary, G-E-R-R-Y-K-I-M-M-E-L, Red Wagon Quilts. I like her style. It's more primitive. So I found this book, and this is the quilt. So this is the entire quilt. So looks pretty simple, doesn't it? Looks nice and cute. I love that kind of a Santa. So I get the book. I plan to make it. I even have, let's do this. So this is what I've got. Let's see if I can do this without knocking stuff over. I have the whole back piece ready. So I've got my wovens. It's very similar. Oh, look at, I've even got, I haven't looked at this for a while. I even have Santa. Isn't he cute? I have Santa with his beaver up and ready. Why is that? I haven't, oh, because that's still on there. I haven't sewn that all the way down. I got Santa in a sack up and ready. Is that all I've got? Do I have more? Nope. See, so the rest is just waiting. Waiting, waiting, and waiting. So here we go. I've got it that far. But you know what I've got? I decided, you know, it's that cup of coffee and trying to figure out, I'm going to move you back because I feel like you're right. Hang tight. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't get sick. Okay, there you are. I decided I wanted to put some more animals in there because I want it to look like my mountain cabin. And so this is where I talked yesterday about the quilt, about how I try to combine things. So this was a download. This was an instant download, and it was Timeless Treasures. Timeless Traditions, Norma Watley. I want to say it was on her blog that I found that pattern. But look at this. I still have not made this. Woodland Tree Skirt. But look at we've got trees, we've got cabins, we've got lots of animals. So I took those patterns and I drew things out, and I have a lot of stuff done, but it's not finished. So look at this stack that I've got. I've got tons of stuff and they're ready. Oh, I had a question. Here's something. I'm good at making plans, and I joke around when I get called from an agency and take work. It's like, oh yeah, I can do anything tomorrow. So I was going to do a quilting tutorial video, and I already have it done. I'm great about talking about stuff and, you know, talking about concepts and showing you things. But actually doing a tutorial, I have to really think and plan and stage it out. Haven't done it yet. So I am planning on doing a video on how I do my freezer paper applique. So actually, when I did a simple little class at one of our round tables at our guild, and it was actually using this pattern, but I use freezer paper. This is not the tutorial, but this is just to give you a little inkling. And this is the pattern, but I use the starch method. So we call it freezer paper and starch. And I get the edges under. I paint on the starch, and I use an iron and my fingertip, and I fold that over and starch it. So that's my method. Then I glue it down with Roxanne glue and fabric glue and stitch it on, and there you go. No, that's not my tutorial, but I have a lot of stars. So this is the star that I used in that pumpkin plaid wall quilt. So this I don't think is from any of those patterns. It's just one that I made up. Why do I have so many? I can't even remember where I was going to put all those stars. But look at these. I got my little squirrel because we have gray squirrels up in the mountains. I've got all my little animals. This is Flannel. Our fox. This is what our fox. Our San Bernardino mountain foxes are more this color, not the English red. I got little rabbits. We don't have rabbits. We have a lot of deer. See? Got my flannel deer. Then the trees. The trees, I decided to do a different pattern. These are my trees. So look at, I already got my forest. These are a pain in the neck. A total pain in the neck to do all the turning under to prepare them. I will not be doing the tutorial on these babies, or that would just totally turn you off. That takes so much work, getting that edge in. But this is why I love this method, because when it is all ready, it has all these edges turned under. They're all beautifully turned under. But each one of these probably takes about a half hour to do all that ironing underneath it. And so that's where, back when I did this, I didn't even know you guys existed. I didn't know YouTube. I knew YouTube. I didn't know FlossTube existed. So who knows what I was doing when I was getting these done. But now I know. I'll be watching FlossTube as I finish up. But I already have probably 8 of these trees ready. But it is not the tree from that pattern. I decided, I decided to use the same one from, where did I put you? I know I got it out. Oh, here we go. There we go. So this was from that quilting number 7 video where I worked hard to find this because that's how I made my pineapple quilt that I showed in that. But these are the trees. So this is the tree that you will see in my cabin quilt that's on my wall. If you watch my FlossTube, I do it video the other way, and you see that cabin quilt with that tree. These are the trees from this book. This one I don't know that you're going to be able to find. Red Wagon Originals. This is Gary Kimmel and Linda Brannick, or Jerry Kimmel. No idea. But this one's a great one if you can find it, but it has smashing trees in it. So, a lot of trees. But then, of course, I think, oh, I'm going to do an owl. So this is what I do. I trace it on here, freezer paper, do 3 layers. And freezer paper is just what you actually use to put stuff in the freezer. But it's shiny on one side, sticky on another, and it makes, it sticks. So you iron fabric on there and it sticks to it, yet you can peel it right off. But there we go. This is going to be a blue jay. Then we've got more stars. Good grief, I was really into stars. Little baby tree. So we've got a baby tree, that's the front. And look what's ironed on the back. It's waiting for me. So this is the freezer paper ironed on the back. Oh my word, we got doves. We have doves. Actually, we have pigeons that come to our feeders. We have a lot of quail. Not so many that Riley is up there. Riley likes to scare them away. But that's what I do. I take something, a really sweet, simple idea, and I complicate it. But say I never make that woodland tree skirt, and I do get all this together, then I have 2, actually 3. So 1 pattern book, another pattern book, and another pattern. 3 of those neat patterns put together, and I've picked my favorite parts. So it's not a bad idea. It's a bad idea if I never get it finished, because it's gorgeous, and it would be a great winter one to have. It's just a bad idea if I don't finish it. So that's my unfinished project. And then I even have the backing for it. And the backing I bought specifically because, of course, it has pine needles. But it's flannel. And this is one that I've had for years now. Who knows if this is still available. But I know it's Holly Taylor. But I loved that. I love that because, like, kind of when you look out the night sky and the moon is reflected on the pine needles. I love it. And I probably paid full price for that one. This was Winter Forest Flannels by Holly Taylor. Because I wanted it, even though I usually don't buy big pieces at unless I can find it on sale. I love it so much. I probably paid full price. So there you go. Oh, good, 37 minutes. So I was hoping to get this done not too long because it's late. I'm tired. And I want to go sit with my man and look at the Christmas lights. Wanted to share a couple things with you. I usually show my bracelets. This is not a handmade one, but it matched, and so I wore this. It's just very loose, but it does have a story. What do I have that does not have a story? There's my earring sticking there. There we go. This one has a story. This is stretchy, and it is beads, and you can simply make it with stretchy stuff. But look, see, it's stretched out because I've had it so long. We homeschooled our kids for a long time, and we did a lot of field trips, and we had year-round passes to the San Diego Zoo and the Wild Animal Park. They've now Safari Park in Escondido. Fantastic places. But when we were going to the San Diego Zoo, one time I went in one of the stores that they had, and they had this bead bracelet, so I bought it. And then I liked it so much I wanted another color. I kind of do that with everything that I get into. So I remember I couldn't wait to go down there again, and I was so excited, so I ended up getting this one. So it just reminds me of being a mom and taking the kids down to the zoo and having a good time. So that's the story on that bracelet. But the other thing is, so here, if you follow me all the way to the end, you get to know a secret about me. I shared in that, hang on a second. I shared in the Quilting 7 video about how much I love Pinterest and how much I love the joy of the hunt. And then I did not share my Pinterest name. So people have asked me what it is, and I told them to email me. And I gave them my Pinterest name so that they could follow me on there. But when I first started Pinterest, I did it under my name. And then I realized that it was just available to anybody. If you looked at my name, you could see everything that I pinned. And it just felt weird. It just felt way too invasive. And then I've got almost 30,000 pins. And for some reason, I have seen that as really personal because it's, I don't know. I don't know why I've seen other pins that I've pinned on my board as very personal. I'm still not going to put that on the show notes. But if you follow me all the way to the end, you don't have to email me to see who I am. So of course this comes, so Beanie Bonjour. So I am Beanie Bonjour on Pinterest. So Beanie Bonjimer. So you can, I think you can just search that name and follow me and see all my 29,000 something pins on Pinterest. Now, why did I choose Beanie Bonjour? So my dad came up with a nickname for me when I was growing up, and he called me Beanie Bonjour. He even had a song that he sang, and at the time he would sing the song and I'd be like, oh, Dad, no, I hate it. And so it was funny because the last time I went out there, I probably told him, you know, that I did my Pinterest board with Beanie Bonjour. And he said, oh, and then he started singing the song or something. He said like, oh, you hated this. And he sang the song. I said, no, Dad, now I love it. But, you know, I'm 50 years old. I like it now. And he thought that was fun. But that was his name. So he calls me still. He'll call me Beanie or he'll call me Bonjour. My brother will call me Bonj. So, you know, it's just special, the names that our family members come up with. So Beanie Bonjour. But see, don't tell anybody. You have to watch me all the way to the end to find out that secret about me. So I'm still, someday maybe I'll get over the thing and actually put that, you know, you can follow me on Pinterest as, but for right now, I don't know. That's what, but I got a lot of pins and a lot of boards and I love it. I really love that part. So what else do I want to share with you? Okay, so now is what I call the good stuff. So today is December 22nd. You're probably not going to get to see the video till at least the 23rd. So we're close to Christmas. And this is 2020, so it's Christmas like most families are going to have Christmases that are different. And on the quilting number 8 video, I shared at the end about how our Christmas is different and what my friends and I have been talking about on how we can encourage each other just to find joy and to celebrate the holiness of the season in this time and not to get down. But on Sunday, our pastor, Jack Hibbs, so Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, and a lot of people follow Jack and listen to the services. Those would be the best things to follow me on, is listening to the sermons that I listen to. But pastor and Real Life with Jack Hibbs, he actually has an app and a lot of stuff available. And then on YouTube, Real Life with Jack Hibbs. And the title of the sermon was The Weary World Rejoices. And it was really wonderful. So I am needing, it's like, please give me hope, give me hope, give me hope. Yes, I got the Word of God and I can read it and I love it. But there's something about a service and hearing that verbal voice that connects with me. I'm a verbal learner. So he did the whole sermon based around the weary world rejoices. And he read the words to the song. And there's the reflection. But I find, so I'm going to read the words to the song in a second, but I am finding that listening to the Christmas hymns right now are giving me so much solace and so much hope and so much to hold on to during this Christmas season, to choose joy, nevertheless. Merry Christmas, nevertheless. So I like iTunes rather than like Spotify or this or that. So I just purchased Josh Groban, Noel. It's a Christmas. He has a lot of Christmas hymns. And then I have found, I just searched this weekend and found the Petersons, Petersens, and I downloaded their Christmas album too. So I like listening to those while I fall asleep. It's like listening to Bible verses and Bible stories. So let me read you the words of Oh Holy Night. So this is where I need my glasses. So here we go. And it's 3 verses, and I just went and I just searched lyrics, but I want to start memorizing these too. But this is, Oh holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appears and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh hear the angel voices. O night divine, O night when Christ was born. O night, O holy night, O night divine. Then verse 2. Led by the light of faith serenely beaming, with glowing hearts by his cradle we stand. So led by light of a star sweetly gleaming, here comes the wise men from Orient land. The King of Kings lay thus in lowly manger. This is the part that really gets me. In all our trials, born to be our friend. He knows our need, to our weakness is no stranger. Behold your King, before him lowly bend. Behold your King, before him lowly bend. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother. In his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we. Let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise his name forever. His power and glory evermore proclaim. His power and glory evermore proclaim. So these Christmas hymns are just meaning so much more to me than ever before. And the weariness that our whole world is struggling with right now, the chaos that our world is struggling with, the businesses going under, the people passing away, the families kept apart, finances, the loneliness, the isolation. It can be very oppressive, yet we can bring all this to our Savior. And I love the part where it says, behold your King, behold before him lowly bend. And a lot of times, since I'm a visual person, when I am really needing calm, I just imagine, I can just imagine myself. This is sometimes how I help myself fall asleep. A stream going next to me, beside still waters, and a pasture, and Jesus just sitting there in this beautiful pasture, and I could hear the stream, and I am just laying there with my head on his lap, and just perfectly safe, perfectly humbled, perfectly there with my shepherd and my Savior watching over me. And that is what my Jesus means to me, my Savior and my Lord and my protector and my provider. I am his sheep. I am the sheep of his pasture. So I love the Christmas hymns. And I pray that you will check them out, listen to them, and enjoy them. And I'm going to be doing a floss tube, hopefully tomorrow, because I have a finish, and it's Emmanuel, but it says, "O come, Emmanuel," and that's I love that hymn, and I love the piece, and so I got it finished cross stitching, just not fully finished. So hopefully I'll be back on tomorrow in my floss tube videos. But there you go. Merry Christmas, nevertheless. Thank you guys so much, and God bless you.